Hey, how's it going everybody? It's Mike again. So in this video, I'm going to be going over some details and information about San Gabriel River Trail, also known as the Goodwater Loop. If you haven't seen the hiking video that I shot out there, I will also leave a link in the description for you to go check that out. So we're going to go over a couple things here, like the parking situations at the trailhead. I will break down the 11-mile section that I did, and we'll also talk about the different ways that you may want to break down that section if you don't want to do the entire 11 miles. So let's jump right into it. So San Gabriel River Trail is out on Lake Georgetown in Georgetown, Texas. The trail goes all the way around the lake at 26.2 miles, but I did a section of that from Cedar Breaks Park to Tejas Park, which is 11 miles. So you have a couple options out there for parking. You can park outside the gate, and there's about 20 or 30 spots there. Or if you want to park directly at the trailhead, you'll have to go through the gate and just tell the gate attendant that you're hiking the trails, and he will let you in for free. I think you only have to pay like $5 if you're going out there to boat or use their day use picnic area. So I'll start talking about the section of trail that I did. So like I said, I started at Cedar Breaks Park. So within like the first mile or a little less than a mile, you run into the lake and you start getting some really awesome lake views for like the next mile or so. The trail is pretty nice here. It's nice and wide, but you're kind of walking up on a limestone ledge, which kind of offers these awesome lake views. And you run into those up until about mile 2.5, and there you run into Crockett Gardens, also known as Crockett Garden Falls, which just is an awesome area. It's the pretty much jewel of Lake Georgetown. Anyone who goes out and hikes this trail, goes past Crockett Garden Falls, has to get a picture or some videos there, and I felt like I had to do it some justice in my video, so you can see it there as well. So there's, a whole bunch of lush green ferns, this beautiful spring-fed waterfall, and then at the top of the waterfall is kind of a cool section of the trail where you have to kind of hop across some stone pavers to get through a little creek that kind of runs, and that's actually what creates the waterfall. But there's a barbed wire fence that runs along that section, and on the other side of the barbed wire fence, I think you can see some remains of an old farming operation from like the 1800s or something. So yeah, overall that area is just really, really awesome, and that could also be like a nice short hike, 5-mile out and back hike if you just want to hike to there. So after Crockett Garden Falls, so like after mile 2.5, you start running into some of like the best wildflowers out on the trail. They're blooming like crazy. The cactuses are blooming like crazy, and yeah, so pretty much from mile like 2.5 to mile 7 or so, there's just a ton of them. And in this section, you can also get a few more awesome lake views. And then also in this section, there are 2 primitive camping sites. So the first one you run into is about 4.5 miles down the trail, and that is Cedar Hollow Camp. And then the second one is Sawyer Camp, and that's around mile 6.5. So these are free primitive camping sites. I've heard about people going out here and backpacking and having a great time. I would just recommend maybe talking to their office about how to go about it so that you don't get towed. I think a lot of people who leave their car there overnight just put a sign up in their window saying hiking the Goodwater Loop. I'll be leaving this day and coming back this day, please don't tow me, and I don't think anyone's really had any issues. So I'll probably definitely go out there and do some backpacking trips at some point. And there's definitely some pretty awesome sites out there. So you're only like 40 or 50 yards from the lake, so kind of being that close to the lake is nice. And then after that, at mile about 6.8 or right around mile 7, you run into my favorite Overlook. So you can you're kind of like 100, 200 feet up, looking out over pretty much the lake kind of narrows down right here, and it looks like a river, San Gabriel River. So you're looking out over that, and there's this huge, beautiful green floodplain, and just like the contrast in colors of, you know, San Gabriel River, the green floodplain, and the blue sky, and just being able to see for miles is really awesome. And that was my favorite overlook. So that's around mile 7, and honestly, if I went back out there, I'd probably, you know, go to that point and then turn around, because you know, if you turn around there, you don't get some of the cons of the trail. There's not very many cons to this trail, but yeah, if you turned around there, you might be a little bit better off. And so I'll kind of go into that. So after mile 7, the trail gets a little hairier, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot more tall grass. The trail is way more narrow here, and I think the chance of kind of like running into a snake is maybe a little bit higher. So if you're a little bit worried about sections like this, maybe wear some pants or something if you're worried about brushing up against a little bit of grass, and maybe wear some boots or something to give you a little bit more protection if you're worried about snakes. So yeah, that's kind of one downside to this section of the trail, and this is kind of in between mile 7 and mile 9. So like I said, you have a little bit of high grass that runs up on the trail, and then there's also a couple like road walks. They're actually like ATV roads, so some of the parts are like not quite as wide. There's some grass kind of growing on the trail, and you can see a shot that I did of it in the video if you want to see what it's like. But it's just kind of a little bit miserable. There's just no shade on these sections. On a hot sunny day, it can be a little bit miserable, but they're pretty short. They're only like a quarter mile, probably less than that. And so if you wanted to do the whole 11 miles, I don't think this section should be a deterrent. But like right around mile 9, you kind of have the option of kind of sticking to the trail that it's a little bit further away from the river, or you can kind of hop down closer to the river and walk along that. And kind of from there to Tejas Park is actually a really nice section of the trail. You're walking along San Gabriel River, and I think a bunch of people go out there and just kind of set up some river chairs and hang out for the day and do some swimming and stuff. So I may do that at some point, and it would be easier to get there from Tejas Park because it's only about a mile or two to get to that area where people hang out in the river. But yeah, so the river kind of, you're walking along the river there, and the river keeps narrowing down pretty much until you get to Tejas Park. But yeah, it's a really beautiful section of the trail. There are a few sections that have some poison ivy, I noticed, but the trail's like really wide here, so as long as you stick to the middle of the trail, I think you'll be fine. And so also in that section, kind of mile 7 to 9, you start running into a lot more like oak trees, where like in the first several miles it's mainly cedar trees, so it's kind of nice to have a little bit variance in your nature that you're seeing. But then you make it to Tejas Park at mile 11, and they have a couple bathrooms there, so if you need to go to the bathroom, that would be a great place to do it. And they have a big paved parking lot, and I also saw they have a dirt parking lot there. So yeah, so I actually did this as an out and back hike that was supposed to be, 22 miles, 11 miles to Tejas Park and 11 miles back to Cedar Breaks. But after, the side trails to go check out these primitive campsites and getting turned around a couple times, it ended up being a 25-mile hike that took 11 hours. Probably took that long because, I was out there, doing shots for my hiking video. But yeah, it was probably one of my favorite hikes that I've done in the last few years. It was absolutely gorgeous, between just all the wildflowers and cactuses blooming Just the beautiful blue water of the lake. Honestly, it's a little bit nicer looking than Lake Travis, I think, and not quite as developed on the shores, so there's not as many houses to kind of ruin your great views. But yeah, it's like one of my favorite sections of trail that I've done in a long time, and probably one of my favorite hikes that I've done in Central Texas. You can just see a ton of wildlife out there too. I saw a few snakes, so be aware of that. You know, they're out there on every trail, but I just think I should let you know that I did see a couple out there. And I saw a ton of birds, absolutely a ton of birds. You can probably, I saw a couple deer. You can probably see some like possum and raccoon as well. I don't know. But yeah, it's, so even though this was like one of my favorite hikes and was actually the longest hike I've ever done at 25 miles. Before this, it was 21 miles out on the Barton Creek Greenbelt, which was a great day. But at 25 miles, that's a personal best, and I feel pretty great about it. But it didn't come without some problems, and those problems came in the form of dehydration. So I actually I ran out of water for the last 6 miles, and I thought it was going to be bad, but I didn't think it was going to get as bad as it actually did. And so I did another video on dehydration and staying hydrated on the trail, and I kind of talk about my experience about getting dehydration for the first time. And so that would be a really good video to check out if you're kind of worried about those things. I didn't really see a whole lot of great videos out there on YouTube about dehydration, so I thought that information should be out there. But overall, it was a really amazing hike, and I guess if you don't want to do the entire 11 miles, there's a couple different ways that maybe you could do it. So you could have a car parked at Cedar Breaks Park, and another car, maybe your friend's car, parked at Tejas Park. And you could do the 11 miles, and then your friend can give you a hitch back to your car. Or like I say, you can do the section from Cedar Breaks Park to Crockett Garden Falls. So to Crockett Garden Falls, that's 2.5 miles, which would make it a 5-mile out and back hike. Or you could hike to maybe like my favorite Overlook at mile 7 or so, and turn around to make like a 14-mile hike. That would be a pretty nice day. But yeah, you got to get out there. You got to check it out if you haven't been out there. And maybe you have been out there and just hiked to Crockett Garden Falls. I would really recommend hiking past that, because you get some more interesting lake views and just some really awesome wildflowers. I think that's about it. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video or want to see more videos like this, like and subscribe, and I'll probably do kind of this formatting of videos in the future, where I do an awesome like hiking video with some great shots and music and stuff like that. And if that video is not too long, I'll probably just tack on something like this on the end of it, where I explain the trail and some details and information about the trail. Or if it's something like the video that I did for that hike, which was like an 11-minute video, I'll kind of probably split up the two videos. So you can either just go out and watch the cool hiking video, or you can go and check out, you know, this link and check out the details and information about the trail. So that's kind of my plan in the future when I go out and do these hikes. And but yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.